So welcome to Circular Design How-To, and this is a 5th session on the row what we're having. My name is Tapani Jokinen. I'm a strategic design consultant and circular design consultant at Fraunhofer ICM, and I'm based in Finland and Berlin. And today we will look at some really interesting topics. A little bit for intro. Sustainability starts with design. 80% of product footprint and environmental impact is throughout the life cycle determined during the design phase. And that's why it's vital for all designers, people who works on R&D and new product development, to learn new methods and practices, how we could actually enabling low carbon products. And as important is learning new all the time, but I think that in our area, it's even more important to unlearn on old practices and things to really apply these new methods. Circular Design How-To session is an open space for circular design professionals to discuss their work and experiences. We want to avoid abstract concepts and discuss practical takeaways from circular design projects. The event is organized by Estonian Design Centre in cooperation the EcoDesign Circle project and its partners. EcoDesign Circle is an international team of design centers, public authorities, research institutes, and design practitioners. And we have working since 2016 on design approach, how to apply circular design methods on circular economy. The lead partner is German Environmental Agency from Germany, and we have partners from Germany, Estonia, Finland, Lithuania, Poland, Russia, and Sweden. Project is the framework of Interreg Baltic Sea Region Program, and it's co-financed and funds from European Region Development Fund. And the main goals of this project have been to enhance the capability of SMEs to make use of circular design, to increase capability of designers in the environmental dimension of design, and of course improve the Baltic Sea region-wide cooperation between design centers. We will record this session and we will send the link to all of you who have registered on this event. During this session, you can leave your question and comments to Zoom chat box. So please use that. After each speakers, we will take time to answer a few questions, but we will have much longer reflection round after all the presentation. So stay in a line and we could have a really good discussion. In this season's last How-To webinar, we will take closer look on 3 circular design tools in practice: the EcoDesign Learning Factory, Audit, and Sprints, which are developed by EcoDesign Circle project team. All the tools and methods and manuals are available at EcoDesign Circle webpage. And the webpage, we will set the link for you. And the other place where you could find these tools and methods is Sustainable Guide, where you could find those. And the first topic today will be the Learning Factory EcoDesign. The EcoDesign Learning Factory is a training program for developing innovative products and services. The practical approach focus on bringing toward circular economy opportunities by emphasizing design thinking and life cycle thinking. The user-centric eco-design tools and methods will help you to minimize the environmental impact while maximizing the benefits for all the stakeholders. And I'm really pleased to introduce my colleagues, Ronja Scholz from Fraunhofer ICM. Stage is yours. Could you tell a couple of words about yourself also?
Hey, yeah, I'm Ronja, industrial designer by training, and for 1.5 years now at the Fraunhofer IZM and TU Berlin. Yeah, doing this, working in this EcoDesign Circle project on developing the methods. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Learning Factory. Of course, mainly the feedback that we got from designers on how to work with the tools. Tapani also already said a little bit about it. What I would, of course, like to start with is giving you a quick overview what the Learning Factory is and how it works, and then go to the feedback and also help you understand where you can find the tools. So what is really quick to catch up on you all. The Learning Factory was developed, the first approach mainly focusing on circular product design, now more than 2 years ago. And then we realized that service design is actually taking more and more importance and has a way bigger leverage to become circular, to make the economy that we have circular. And I want to quickly, so you see my screen, right? Okay, show you. So that's what Tapani already said. The circular economy, really, we have to see how products and materials are kept at their highest value and potential. And design, of course, is very crucial for it, because design defines in the end how we use products, how we handle materials, and whether a product is repairable or not. And service design becomes very interesting in this scenario of circular economy, because we can actually create user interaction, and we can create entirely new ways of using materials and products. So we have sharing concepts, but we can also give information about how to handle products actually more sustainable. For example, we can inform users how to dispose of products when they don't need them anymore, how to repair them, whether they need upgrades or whatever. So we till now, the use phase was a little bit of a black hole in the entire circular economy, and the service design can actually gap that hole and really help to close all the loops. And we're talking also about creating not only efficient products then, but really creating sufficiency and consistency by design. And the Learning Factory is two things. On the one hand, it's a workshop that is targeted and really understanding how design thinking, user centricity, and life cycle analysis and environmental analysis can actually work together to create meaningful products and services. But of course, it's also a composed set of methods that can be used by designers to also create those. So you all are probably aware of the design process, and the Learning Factory is built up in that. We have built in it the discover phase, and then defining the actual real problem that we need to solve, and also develop some ideas and test the delivery. But what is really important in understanding circular design is that you have to pay way more importance on understanding the actual problem that you're solving, not only focusing on the user perspective, but mainly also embracing environmental issues and everything. And so what we talk about is actually the 3 cornerstones of circular design. And that means we have to keep in in focus all the time the customer experience, for sure, because any product is only as good as it's usable, but also understand how sustainable businesses can be built around a product, and what technology can help us to achieve that. And we have to understand that we have to switch constantly in the scope that we are considering, because the technology also will have an influence on how we as a society develop. And yeah, we have to set the right objectives for the future we are creating by developing the products today. And therefore, we've developed a entire range of methods that actually help you really go through that process. And we've developed them and tested them quite a few times in workshops, and got various feedback, and are still always, of course, improving them, because also research is showing new things. And this is, of course, something that is in constant change too. And to make it usable for you, we also designed mural boards so that you can actually use the tools directly. And I now have to jump out of PowerPoint and want to show you how that then looks for you. So this is the toolkit where all the tools are available. And what we found is that one of the crucial things for designers actually is to understand what the impact is and can be. And therefore we created the assessment that helps you to really understand the impact and how to create products differently. And it's mainly a questionnaire, and this got really good feedback, because by asking all those questions, you start understanding also the methods and the principles of circular design. And it helps you, in the end, you will get like a nice overview on where you actually already score quite good and where you have room for improvement. And as this was quite successful, we also worked together with a programming agency and our Polish partners to make it accessible via like online, so that's a little bit easier to fill in. And here you see mainly the questionnaire in the online tool, and I already filled it in once so that you can see the results. And you get then like little recommendations on how resources are valuable. And we developed that for two reasons. The one is for designers, of course, to understand on their own impact and the products that they're developing. But another issue that came up in all the conversations is also to like, how can I actually sell this to my customers? Because I'm aware of the fact that I'm creating impact, but the clients do not want to either pay for it or just do not pay attention for it. And we thought we made this available for everyone because it's also a great conversation starter. So you can actually use that also for your clients to have them go through it. And yeah, it's a very rough overview of the principles. Of course, in the end, for any project, and that's when Harri will talk later, you will need someone with experience to really understand in depth what decision and what strategies to tackle are once you have the findings. But I think this is this tool really is the key to understand where to start with. Another tool that's also still in the understand phase is the actant product journey and actant map. And I want to show you that in the once in the pure visual. So what is really crucial, of course, we are still in the still have to follow the idea of human-centered design, but when we talk about circular design, actually we have to make sure that there are more than only the humans, that the environment gets a voice. And we used in the service design learning factory, we used the actant map. So we did not only focus us on the humans that are involved throughout the product journey, but also what impact it has on various species. And I think actually what was cool, we not only got like a lot of good feedback on that. You now see it looks a little bit different because this was the testing phase. Sorry. Oh, my internet is slow. Oh man. So you can see the results from one workshop, and you see that we have, for example, the mole, and where else? We always had the tuna, for example, here, and maybe even like the new robot arm. So that's like a really fun starter to really think of who's involved in the journey actually, and it helps to give a voice to all the things that are in current business models not addressed. And we then worked on with this to also understand like where in the process do they have pain points? What is the pain point for the tuna? And the tuna actually usually should be here in the back, of course, too, because everything that goes to the sea will impact the tuna. And this got really good feedback from the designers because they say this is a nice way to visualize actually that we have an impact on more than only the business and the environment. And it helps you to put these people on the table, or these actants, and yeah, you then are able to create concepts that really keep those keep those in conversation, and make people aware of that they are there and make it tangible. And I think that's very crucial to circular design, that we make things more tangible, also translating pure numbers in CO2 into something that you can actually work with. And the last tool that I want to show you that we improved quite a lot, and we tried to change it, and then we always came back to what it is the life cycle canvas. And we tried to even bring in a little bit more concepts, but we realized this is actually the paraphrasing of the circular concept that is enough detail to help people really think in entire systems and loops, but also not too much, because otherwise we had other maps and they were really overwhelming. And this canvas is originally from the product design, but we realized it also works really good for service design. And this with a little direction, like helping people to understand that it's better to start with the inner circle and then work outwards. People get really creative and understand really what it means to actually change your entire business concept to circular, because you have to also not only create the product in a way that it's usable for repair, for sharing, for whatever, but you really have to create the entire business network that helps you to realize all the loops. So who's collecting whatever when it's broken, who's the one who repairs this, how is information actually transmitted from one to the other. And this map, really, we got a lot of feedback because it's kind of simple and still detailed enough. And yeah, that are the three canvases that I wanted to show you specifically, because these are the ones that we got really a lot of positive feedback on. Of course, the others work too. And in the end, it's the flow, you know, and I think that's also very important. And we designed all the tools so that you can either take them and just copy the flow to your products, or run the workshop for whomever you want. But you can also, of course, just pick and collect the tools that are fitting for your service flow or for your design flow, because we know that like everybody has their own routines, practices, some like 365 ideation better, others like brain writing. So of course, all those steps are also part of the learning factory. But we also know that everyone has their specific preferences, and you can use those tools individually to really integrate them into your flow. But they should help you a lot to actually combine environmental thinking and systemic thinking with the more or better known and design processes. And yes, now you want to probably see where they are. So this is the circulardesign.tools website where you can get them. And we also have a lot more. One thing, for example, that was also, I think could be helpful is having the pitch, have a look at the pitch, and also check on what you could then also translate from there to your, or use from there to convince your customers. And there are more facts on why sustainability performance is important to business in the future and how it's related to design. And yeah, you can also get the entire workshops as Moora boards or the sprint. And yeah, that's for now. Here are the links again.
Thanks, Ronja. Really profound work. Enormous amount of practical tools and methods. Could you please share later on also in a chat the link to the tool? There might be already questions, but I will ask one. So you have several different canvases, methods, and tools, but are those follow also the flow of the design thinking, discover, define, develop, and so on? So what guides me or others to use actually those tools?
Yeah, sure. They follow it. I can again show you the. So you actually have here the understand, define, ideate, develop phases with little explanations. And yeah, I mean, in the workshop itself, we can, of course, in a 2-day workshop, you can only go into user research to a certain extent. So we do that in the workshop with like short interviews, and then we go through it roughly. If you use the methods for a real project, then you would, of course, take a little bit more time to actually really understand and analyze the problems and the situation. And yeah, I mean, they are quite like, I would say they are straightforward in the design process or design thinking process. So they guide you through it by the question on the canvases, and of course there's also always an explanation on how to actually use them. So that I think for everyone who has already worked with the design thinking process a little bit, they are quite understandable and straightforward. And then of course one can feel free to put in more to make it an entire sprint, for example, or
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you, Ronja. And the next topic what we will touch will be the EcoDesign audit. It was originally made by Estonian Design Centre, and EcoDesign audit is the diagnostic tool for enterprises and public organizations to assess their eco-design capabilities and performances and identify possible circular design opportunities and approaches. Eco-design is carried out by design manager and environmental specialists following the eco-design audit methodologies. It provides reliable, validated, and comprehensive overview, and it also gives the recommendation in form of the report. The audit recommendation will help to establish a basic for moving forward towards circular economy. The next step after the audit, what we will touch later on this event, will be the EcoDesign sprint, that there is always a continuation when you are using these tools. And I have a great pleasure to introduce Harri Moora, that I have worked for years now, and Harri will tell a little bit more about the audit. And please, could you also introduce yourself a little bit, few words?
Thank you, Tapani, and thank you to all the organizers for this opportunity to quickly give an insight to the circular design, or let's say eco-design, although we are at the moment, I think, talking more from the circularity point of view. Although I think actually I like eco-design more, to be honest, because often in these circularity discussions, we tend to narrow our focus. So from good old times, I still prefer the term eco-design, but let's today focus mainly on circular design. But yes, thank you once again. And my name is Harri Moora. I'm working for Stockholm Environment Institute as program director. And I'm also member of board member of Estonian Association for Environmental Management. And these organizations are working very closely together with Estonian Design Centre. We have had very fruitful and long-term cooperation, especially when it comes to promotion and also implementation of all those tools that we present today and which have been developed in the frame of this EcoDesign Circle project. So we have been quite successful in promoting these tools, and of course I have had a pleasure to contribute into the development of some of the tools, especially when it comes to this circular design audit, which we developed together with the Estonian Design Centre. And I have to admit that we have a little bit further developed it, although those slides I show you are mainly relying on the initial version that we designed already a few years ago. But anyway, I will give a very short introduction into the design audit and or this eco-design, circular design audit, and then I will share also a few practical experiences, feedback that we have received from already exercising this tool. At least in Estonia here, we have implemented or used this tool, I think, for more than 30 companies. And then in a way, it can be used as part of the circular design approach or project called Sprint. but especially here in Estonia, we have recognized when starting to this discussion on eco-design as such, that very often companies, although there might be some understanding and willingness to go more for circular and circular product design, we still have recognized that not all companies have enough capacity and capability to exercise circular design, and sometimes there is no even sufficient capacity in the company to do whatever design or product development. So that's why I would say this specific audit tool is designed for more as a kind of first screening or let's say quick identification of whether the company is ready for circular design. And also it includes a certain component which is pretty much or very similar to what Ronja already presented. This is the EcoDesign assessment tool developed by you. So in a way it's very, very similar, but this is a kind of additional element. And as we already understand and understood from earlier presenters, that it's very important before you start your eco-design project within your company. It's very important to understand the concept, also to identify what are the most, let's say the most, where the potential concerning circular design is highest, especially when it comes to the different selection of different design strategies. I will come back to that as well very shortly. Anyway, so this audit has in a way twofold aim, as I said, first to identify the strategic, organizational and design capacity of the company, just to ask the question, you know, whether the company is ready for further design approach or design project to go for sprint. Is sprint relevant at all? And the other aspect is, of course, more or less the same as we heard earlier, to understand the situation and understand what are the potentials, especially concerning the company's specific product design approach, current approach, and where there are possibilities to go on. So in a way, we have then split this eco-design into two steps, as I already explained. Product development or design capacity assessment, so basically giving an answer, are you ready? And then circular design assessment part, which is to understand the concept and understand where are the highest potentials to go on with your circular design. As such, this is quite a short exercise. I would say not more than 1 day, and it depends on the size of the company. We have been quite flexible in organizing those assessments, but in some companies we also have only exercised the first step, which is product development design capacity assessment. And here we are using this typical, let's say, innovation diamond type of methodology, which have been used already quite widely. We have a little bit adjusted it into more circularity perspective, so that it is focusing more on sustainability, but also circularity aspects. And of course, then it includes 5 main dimensions that will be assessed based on a specific questionnaire that the auditor can use. In a way, it's also possible that the company can do it on their own, but again, one of our reflections and experiences is that it would be much more useful if it's done with the cooperation of external experts. And so the main strategies are strategy, whether the company has actually certain strategy in the place which in a way supports the sustainable or, let's say, circular design, whether the organizational capacity in terms of setting up the roles and responsibilities, whether the organizational setup is supporting the product development and design approach, and of course whether the processes and procedures are there, which provide kind of certain robustness, but also certain flexibility of the company's product development process. And I think very important two other dimensions are linkages and learning, because this is something which makes the circular and also sustainable, let's say, eco design different from, I would say, more a conventional design approach. This is, understanding the system, exactly like Ronja said. This is very important part of the design process, to understand the system, to really learn. It's not just based on your potential clients' needs, but you should really understand the system. And for that, you need actually good linkages, meaning the network, partnership, but also you should have a capability for learning quickly. And for that, you also need certain structure in the place. So these are the dimensions or aspects that are studied carefully. As I said, usually we do it in terms of interview, asking specific questions. And then based on the answers, we can also provide more a kind of visual result, which is, I would say, very useful to understand where there are need to develop more your internal system. So basically here this seems to be very popular to use those spider net diagrams. So this is the way how we usually express the results. And also this is, I would say, very convenient way for companies to understand where to develop further on their internal management system, strategy, capabilities, and so on. And then the other part of the audit, this is very much similar to eco-design assessment. Of course, there are different ways on how to structure the different design or circular design strategies. Here we have 5 strategies identified, but I would say that this whole assessment can be easily substituted by eco-design assessment that Ronja presented. And I think your assessment also looks more fancy, although I think we should make our part also here more fancy, useful in a way, but the idea is very much the same. So basically, what is the additional element here in our assessment is that we, together with the company, usually in the form of a short workshop, and then again using templates which provide good basis for auditors to summarize the results. We evaluate and identify the current situation in terms of what is the situation concerning current, let's say, the situation concerning the product design, and what are the main strategies exercised or used today. And then we also in parallel assess the potential, so that they very clearly see again visually on this spider net diagram where they already have made some progress and whether they still have potential, because often it depends on the company or, let's say, the business model. There are possibilities that certain strategies are not even possible for certain business models or product developments, or let's say certain companies. So that's why it's also very good to provide them some understanding what is possible. So this is the way how we do it. And again, there is a plan to put it into more useful web-based form. At the moment, it's again based on Excels, and this is more a kind of tool for specific specialists who can then exercise this in the company. As I said, we have already done more than 30 short eco-design audits, or let's say circular design audits here in Estonia. And interesting is, and this in a way supports my first message, that not always companies, especially in this part of the Baltic Sea, when it comes to Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, where there is still not yet enough understanding about the concept of circular design or circular economy. So just to not to waste resources and go directly to the sprint, it is very useful to do this short audit to understand, whether the companies are ready to go for sprint and further design process or not. As I said, it should be short. No sense to spend too much of time on that. Maximum 1 day, but usually we do it in a way that we have a 2 hours interview with the key people and then maximum 3 hours workshop on the top of that. There is definitely need to have certain flexibility. And as I said earlier, there is a great chance to combine different tools that have been developed within this within the frame of this project easily. So basically, you as an expert who would like to carry out this type of audit or sprint process, you should really understand what are the needs and possibilities of company, and then according to that to choose the right set of the tools. This tool that we have developed, we have intentionally developed it for SMEs and more existing production companies. So this is where we saw more need to really help those companies, existing companies. Although we have also exercised this approach in startups and also in service companies, and even in few cases more on like local authorities. And that auditors, we have also recognized that for this type of audit, this is very good fit, or let's say set of experts. If you can combine a classical, let's say, environmental management expert with design expert, then we can nicely cover both of those issues that we intend to cover with this short exercise. And we here, together with Markus Vihma, have tried also to summarize some of the results in terms of academic papers. I think Markus once already presented the results of the paper. I'm not going into the details, but there are quite interesting results that we have gained from those audit exercises. And we have, in a way, mapped some of the barriers, also possibilities and issues which are very important, which really give a good input to decision makers to further design the regulatory framework, but also support framework, especially when it comes to the public sector support to those specific tools that we have developed. And those who are more interested in this academic article here, I also added a link to this article. That's all shortly from my side. So if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, Harri. Fantastic. I really like your approach that looking at the current state, what is the company's capabilities and motivations, because it's all about that. You can't continue too far if the basics are not in a place in there. But this is also a good kickoff for them that they could identify the gaps and areas what really matters in there. In my understanding, also you still have also some stakeholders interviews and those kind of the checklist, basically the questionnaires and things like that. But you have also interviews during the sprint.
Yes, in a way, for this audit, we have developed a set of questionnaires and templates which can be used by experts, or let's say auditors. This is good in a way. Kerli can support me. We have also developed a self-assessment version based on this capacity assessment for companies, because we understood that this is important. We even can cut down the resources for really identifying or providing the first understanding for companies by letting them to do the first quick assessment. This is based on 10 questions, and you can do it in the web-based through the web-based system, and this already gives you an answer whether you are ready for sprint or you should go for more deep audit, or maybe you should go back to home and learn more and implement the proper management system and start to develop products. So we have actually, Kerli, you can maybe add few comments into that, but this is also under the development.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. this webpage is not live yet. That's why I cannot share you the link at the moment, but it will become live within, I think, a couple of weeks. So we will definitely share this. So as Harri said, it is kind of step one assessment that each company can do. And in the end, you will have this short description of where you are at the moment positioning and what should be the next steps and who to turn to, at least at first in Estonia. So once it goes live, I'm happy to share it with you.
Yeah, that sounds really good. One question still for Harri is that have you ever made those companies who have participated on this program? Have you ever done the continuous process that basically before and after the audit, that after the half year or 1 year, what have happened?
We at the moment together with few companies, because they really like this spider diagram way of measuring their performance, or let's say achievements. So we have agreed with few companies that we will do a second round, and this is they have a little bit like developed further on this approach by taking it over into their own indicator system, so to say. And this is the way how they monitor their progress, because they in a way understood that they are not ready to go for full-scale circular design process. So they made a plan on how to reach there. And now we do the second round to validate, or let's say to see if they are ready, and then they go for sprint. We have also recognized recently that there's more interest to go for sprint, which is the next presentation, and you will hear about that. And by asking questions, why, what is your aim? We understand the companies actually are not ready for that. So this is exactly the way how we try to first, hey, let's wait, let's take a few steps back and try to really develop a proper basis so that you will be, successful in your next steps and further development of your products.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you, Harri. Really interesting. Okay, and our next presentation will be about the EcoDesign Sprint. EcoDesign Sprint is initiated by Design Forum Finland in collaboration with Hellon and EKJA. EcoDesign Sprint is a 3-day training and acceleration program in the circular economy. It's intended to SMEs and design agencies that want to learn more about the possibilities of the circular economy. Primary goal is provide the participants in-depth knowledge and possibilities and business models of the circular economy. Other goal is to develop the business, SMEs, and create more sustainable products and services for them. And I had a pleasure to introduce Zeynep Falay von Flittner from Hellon and Juha Kronqvist. And if you could say a couple of words about yourself and your background. Thank you.
Thank you, Tapani. So I will start, and hopefully you can share the slides. Thank you. So if we continue, so we will talk about EcoDesign Sprint and circularity in service design practices. So my name is Zeynep, as mentioned, and I'm the principal of sustainable design at Hellon. And I'm here with Juha Kronqvist. I will a little bit talk about Hellon's initiatives around sustainable design from a larger perspective, and then Juha has been much more hands-on in the design sprint, and he will give you the very practical and concrete case in order to represent what we have done in the EcoDesign sprint. A couple of words about Hellon. So we are the largest independent service design agency in Nordics. We're about 40 people. And we have people from service design background, business design, and data science professionals based in London and Helsinki. And we also love to, if you continue, push the boundaries of design. So since we were founded in 2009, our DNA has been rooted always in service design. But we've been quickly understood this need for organizational transformation in order to embrace human-centric thinking, customer-centric thinking. So we've been developing frameworks around transformation. And then we realized that, okay, it's not enough only to communicate the design, but we needed to develop also skills around business design to quantify and make the impact that design creates more tangible and measurable. In 2017, we got on board our data scientists and started to explore opportunities, how we combine service design and machine learning. And as of 2019, we've been starting to look at sustainability as a new competence area and how design capability can contribute in sustainability transitions. I have around 20 years of experience in service design, similar to Juha, and we've been seeing this evolution of design coming from products to interactions, services, and now we are more and more looking to the systems design and transition context. And this is very an exciting opportunity to see how impact of design can be taken further. So eco-design topic actually fits really well into this also evolution of design and how we are adding value. So here's also the big picture right now where we are at Hellon. So it's been my main focus to learn this new capabilities and increase our offering, which is consists of customer experience design and service design to this new sustainability directions. And we realized that design can help businesses to transform internally in order to accelerate sustainability transitions. And we have identified 3 key pillars to make that happen. The first one is about futures visioning and supporting the strategy development, because we understand that promoting sustainability transitions requires creativity and imagination to visualize and concretize desirable futures and pathways to reach them. So designers have the capability to imagine and visualize and articulate this type of long-term futures. And this is one of the areas that we are focusing a lot. The second part is about the sustainable new business models and service innovation. And clearly EcoDesign Sprint that we've been actually learning a lot and were able to add in our toolbox eventually, thanks to this program, gives us new possibilities for experimentation for the clients, looking at their internal operations and finding new value propositions. So this is, we will talk more about those things. But the third one, last but not least, is around cultural transformation and mindset shift within organizations as well as ecosystems. So addressing these complex sustainability challenges requires multidisciplinary cooperation between companies, public organizations, research institutions, and wider public. And designers have been competent in facilitating co-creation among very different parties. So we are also doing a lot of work around trying to apply these participatory methods, not only within the organization, but within larger ecosystems with multiple partners that can together create some new value propositions and new opportunities, as well as create this cultural shift about thinking about your business and understanding the longer term impacts to the environment and to the non-human stakeholders, or not even direct customers or stakeholders. So there are these different type of activities, and now I'm going to show you very quickly one type of project that we are doing before we move further to the EcoDesign Sprint. And this has been the Sustainability Futures game we've been designing as part of one EU-funded research, which is a game that brings together different participants to co-imagine desirable future scenarios for 2030. And we embedded SDGs around it, and we try to help them to have this holistic picture of the society, and then trace back to today's challenges and their role, how to reach there. So this kind of tools that designers can create has a fundamental value, create this mindset shift and transformation. But when we come back to the circular service design sprint that we've been taking further, what we have been doing in the EcoDesign sprint, and of course, as a design agency, we are looking ways to adapt it in the best way to our context and to our clients. And when you think about the service business that Hellon is usually focusing, Juha, you can switch already. It is the value in the service business is co-created always with the customers. So it is not enough to only look at production process or internal organizational capabilities or life cycles, but we need to always understand the customer's own journey, which might be, which is beyond the service provider's own journey, and look into these two perspectives to identify new value propositions that could bring win-win. And this is also a very interesting opportunity to find new circular opportunities by bringing service users or customers into the center and help them to co-create this opportunities with the service providers. So we've been a little bit now developing further this thinking in order to apply in our context. And usually the outcomes of our approach is definitely this growing expertise in circularity. So definitely everybody needs to understand better and deeper what circular design is and how it can help them, and these principles. So and then identifying circular opportunities are of course very important. Also envisioning set of targets for circularity and maybe setting KPIs and targeting the future activities into some goals. Creating a proof of concept. So this is a very important enabler for companies to have something already concrete, small prototype that brings their internal stakeholders together, committed for the circular design processes. And also a clear roadmap for implementation where we can kind of help the customers define concrete actions, what needs to be done. So this is the small sprint, but it gets a lot of value. And now I'm giving the word to Juha to walk you through in a very practical case that we have done.
Thanks, Zeynep, for that good introduction. So I will present work that we did as part of this development work for this circular service design sprint, where we created a concept called circular facilities for a specific client. We wanted to, as part of this development work, we want to test this method, and through our public call for project participants, we ended up collaborating with a company called Ylva, which is a Helsinki-based real estate, restaurant, and housing developer. This is an interesting company. It's totally owned by students, and they have very ambitious carbon reduction targets, and they are quite pioneering, some pioneering activities in sustainability. For example, this building you are looking at is currently undergoing renovation, which is done in using sustainable approaches. So for them, the aim for the sprint was to identify opportunities for removing waste from their and their clients' operations. And especially at the focus was this facility services that they offer. So we didn't really, we looked at their internal processes, but we really tried to identify opportunities for creating new service products that they can offer for their clients to increase circularity. This project advanced according to this service design sprint structure. So we had a 3-day workshop, and in between the second and third day, we did some internal work to refine the concept. So in the day 1, we had an introduction to circular economy, and also we did some work using identifying specific customer needs and identifying potential new services. During day 2, we took some of the early concepts. We were refining the idea, creating customer profiles, and writing these kind of concrete service scenarios based on these ideas that we identified on day 1. After that, we did some internal design work. So by utilizing the profiles and scenarios, we finalized, we kind of joined and merged them into one service concept. And this concept was then presented on day 3. And we also on day 3, we drafted a preliminary roadmap how this type of service could be implemented as part of their service offering. And here I strongly encourage you to go to this circular design website presented by Ronja. There are many good tools for organizing this type of sprint using these methods that were collected in this project. So the outcome of this process is, as Zeynep mentioned, that it's quite important that these companies get something concrete to work with. So we had a service concept. So what do we talk about when we talk about a concept? It's basically a description of a service which illustrates the service on a general level without going into very detailed kind of descriptions. And the idea of a concept is basically to give room for common discussion and evaluation on the validity of the concept. You can basically present the concept to your customers and validate the concept with them. You can also look at your organization's internal processes. What kind of requirements does this type of service place on your processes in the organization? And usually what's included in the concept, in this case, we included a service promise, which basically outlines the kind of value of the service for the customers. We include customer profiles illustrating what type of customers this service is for, what types of problems does it solve, what kind of value does it create. Then we usually include a customer journey, which is one of the core tools in service design, which basically illustrates the service from a customer's perspective. And then we sometimes include a service sample, so something that something concrete. It might be a tool utilized in the service, or an advertisement in the service, or a web page, for example, which again provides something a bit more concrete about the service. So when we look at the service promise in this concept, Ylva was quite interested in this idea that not only they should look into their internal processes from a circularity and sustainability perspective, but that they can actually scale sustainability by involving their own clients in this process of reducing their carbon footprint. So we took this as a basis for the service offering, and the service promise that this circular facility service gives the client it allows them to take steps to be a forerunner in circularity. That with Ylva services, their clients can actually strengthen circularity and reduce their own carbon footprint. So by entering into a tenant agreement with this circular service, they can reduce their own carbon footprint as part of the agreement. They can they can take steps to make their own business circular by rethinking energy and material flows. And also they can learn about circularity and create their own circular services. We utilized 3 customer profiles. In this sprint, we didn't do any customer research as such, but we utilized kind of as a basis for these profiles, the customers' competence in or approach to circularity. So we had a profile that is more conservative. We had a profile that is kind of in between, and then we have a profile that is more progressive. And we kind of looked at the service from these 3 perspectives. How does the service kind of work with each of these type of profiles? I won't go through all the profiles. I'll show an example about the progressive profile. This is a CEO of a company who is a main decision maker for the tenant. And this CEO has circularity as a top of mind. And they use it as a base, one of the key bases in decision making. They are constantly looking for different types of solutions, different type of angles to show progress. They have some of the basic processes and documents are in place. They believe in constant improvement of their organization. And they see that all the biggest risks related to their company's future are related to the environment. What are the difficulties that the CEO has in their work is that they have difficulties in finding the needed partners. They feel that there are not enough good solutions available. They have to kind of exercise a longer perspective for profit making, so not just quarterly perspective, but perspective that is measured in years. And they are struggling in making a cultural shift in their own organization, how to make their his employees understand the value of circularity. And also he has problems to set goals that are big enough in terms of circularity. What kind of benefits would this type of service offer to this type of a customer is that the sharing of this burden could bring savings for his company and also enable for them to give better service to their own clients. It also allows them to take one step ahead and to give a competitive advantage for their company, to create brand value, and also a possibility to approach new customer groups. Then we created a customer journey, so divided into 5 different phases. So discover, decision, learn, use, and leave. So in discover phase, the main question is how or where does the customer find this service? While making a decision, how does the customer decide to enter this agreement and start using this service? Then usually when customer start using or make a decision to buy a service or start using a service, there is a period of learning. So how do you establish new practices in your organization that enables this service to function? And then we go into this use phase. So how is actually the service used? And then how does the customer also end the service if that need arises? And these we illustrated based on this circular idea. So I won't go through all these kind of ideas here, but basically there is a kind of a website that the customer can get familiar with these circular services and guidelines, and also test their own current tenant agreement, how circular is it, and how much could they improve. So basically helping them raise helping raise the interest towards this type of a service. Then there's the decision making, so getting an introduction and visiting the premises, studying different types of testimonials and calculations based of the benefits of circularity, and also understanding this kind of uniqueness of this type of service offering. Then when the customer decides to use the service, they join a kind of a digital platform that has a kind of a library of good practices shared by other tenants of the service or created by Ylva, how they can start utilizing circularity as part of their operations of the premises, and also getting peer-to-peer support from other managers. Then when they start using the service, so in the digital platform, for example, there's a marketplace where they can source office materials that from other tenants in Ylva's premises. They get monthly reports from their own state and improvements. They can get rewards for successful actions for reducing their carbon footprint, and also they get support for improving circularity in their own company. And also sometimes these changing needs might lead to a decision to leave the service. So of course they can then, if they switch places, they can enter their own materials for other tenants to use on the digital platform. So basically kind of illustrating this circularity service concept from the customer's perspective. And here is a service sample. I mentioned this circularity test and contract. So here this Teppo Tehokas, who's our profile here, is an office manager in a big retail company, and he's looking for a space for a new boutique in the city center. And he finds this test on Ylva's website that deals with topics like energy, material footprints, and waste management. And he does the test, and he gets suggestions on how can they rearrange their operations by utilizing Ylva spaces or Ylva's premises. And they can select their energy provider or change their energy provider to renewable energy. How can they can compensate unavoidable material footprints, and how can they manage their waste in regenerative ways. So this is an example how this circular service design sprint kind of creates in a very fast manner a concept that you can kind of test and reflect with your own organization and customers. So with that, I thank you for your attention, and if you have any questions, we are ready to answer.
Thanks, Juha and Zeynep. Really interesting approach. You go pretty much business development, but circular business development way in, and I really like the tool what you have, the circular value proposition, and looking the input and output and in a intersection where the value creation happens. That is really nice tool that I saw. Did you also touch some circular business models and those kind of things? Because I see that there is so natural path for the business for the business models also in here what you have done. So did you touch that also?
As part of this development work, we actually did some benchmarking and tried to explore different kind of frameworks, and there are a lot of frameworks for circularity. However, probably due to the history of circular design being with very strongly connected to product design processes, and as you mentioned in your introduction, that product design has a very strong connection with sustainability in the start. But we found it a bit difficult to adapt those frameworks directly with services. As Zeynep mentioned, that services, the logic of how value is created in services is slightly different than in kind of product manufacturing processes, that the value is not situated in a value chain where you can kind of trace all the elements, but value is co-created together with the customer. So that's why we kind of ended up creating this kind of a framework that is obviously not ready. It's kind of like our initial kind of hypothesis of how this circular service kind of framework could work, but and we ended up kind of expanding the view towards the customer and kind of view this circularity as something that is co-created together. So probably that kind of led also Ylva to kind of take this approach that they don't only look at their own processes and how they can improve their services from that perspective, but how they can also together with their own clients increase circularity as part of their services.
If I add, of course, the core of service design has the servitization element. So a lot of the product-driven companies have been moving towards this product service systems, and there comes already a lot of circular opportunities compared to only product-driven companies. So it's been going very hand in hand, but we definitely see there's a value to get also that much more stronger sustainability or circularity hat into that servitization process, and then not being blind to the circular opportunities actually in that change.
Yeah, your approach is touching, or it matches really nicely what Cambridge University and Delft have done. They call it sustainable value proposition, and it pretty much similar type of thing, but it guides also the company to look at that on the right side you have a customer in there, but they are looking more as a stakeholder, like Learning Factory was looking also what are the impact. The stakeholder could be a planet Earth, or it could be anyone basically, and those methods what they have developing are really touching, that you have to actually create many value propositions that for whom and what kind of value you really create for them. Yeah. But really nice work. Any questions in the chat? I can't see any. Harri or Ronja, do you have any questions?
I think this was a very nice presentation in a way, by turning the approach more towards to the service-oriented kind of area. And I also started to think immediately, how this would be, how acceptable this would be, or how the local, let's say, if we talk about this part of the Baltics, although Finland is also not on our side, but still, thinking of the complexity and how the client actually, whether they think it's very resource consuming or something like that, because I am more here trying to develop something which is easy and quite lean. So my question is, what do you think? Is it something which is difficult to maintain, and whether they have to hire people to run this whole concept or something like that? What could be the, in a way, resource need for this type of model to run?
Maybe if I, that's a very good question. And one of the things that we actually started with the whole collaboration was that we reflected a bit back towards when we were starting with service design at Hellon, and we kind of started by first selling service design as a service to our customers, and we found that there were companies and people who were very interested in service design, but it was a small minority of companies. It was mostly those who were very progressive, who were kind of looking forward, and they realized that, okay, this is an approach that they should actually study because it's going to be the future. But it's not very sustainable for our business to only serve those most progressive companies. And we realized that what we are actually selling is we're trying to sell the hammer when we actually should sell the end result. And we realized that with circular initiatives, or also even sustainable initiatives or methods, that are we making the same mistake, that we're trying to sell a tool when we actually should be selling the end result. And with that kind of idea, we started to kind of work on this. And to be clear, this is very much in the start. We haven't really even advanced a lot. I think there's a long way still to go. But I think we should really more and more focus around what can you get out of circularity? What can you get out of sustainability? And then after that, we can sell the methods and the approaches. And even with service design, it's usually quite lean, and our customers are quite satisfied with how fast we move, but still it requires a lot of effort from organizations. And like Zeynep mentions, we have been doing transformation programs with companies that take years just for them to kind of orient around the customers. And you experts in sustainability know that how heavy it is for organizations to transform themselves in order to do sustainability in a satisfactory manner. So I don't think the cue is to make it as small as possible or as lean as possible, but the cue is to kind of paint the big picture, paint the value that is available if you do this transformation, if you start working with this type of approaches. And after that, the methods come much more easier, and the organizations are much more willing to invest in these type of activities.
If I can add also that that's why what we started to tell is to aligning customer value and business value and circular value, somehow creating this win-win. If the only aim is circularity, that usually comes from some sort of either legislative or some sort of push that companies need to answer. But actually, if we can bring those together, then they will get competitive advantage in the future for their business. And that's a better longer term story that we try to now push.
That's a good point. What I have experienced and noticed also that even in design, we build silos between the service design, product design, and all the others, which is absolutely crazy, because there is no such a thing that the product or physical product anymore. There is always a product service system that actually create the connection for the customers and others, and all the take back programs and maintenance things and others. So they should be integrated tools and methods, and I think that is the one of the reason why we today present also Learning Factory, Audit, and Sprint, that basically you should use all those tools. Whatever your need is, you could find a method and best practices to actually enhance that circularity on it.
That's a very good point, that I think all products should be somehow servitized in order for this circularity to kind of really function.
And even I mean, everything is digital. When I create the phone, for example, I 3D modeling it. I don't do it by my hand anymore. Everything is digital, and it just continues. So yeah, that is how it is. Okay. Any other questions or thoughts about on presentation, what you have seen? The audience, do you feel that this is valuable for you? Have you seen anything really including that you really want to try out and test some of the things what you have seen today? Konrad.
Yeah, hello. I can also switch on my camera. Yeah, thanks for, actually I'm also from the EcoDesign Circle network, but I'm also coming from the environmental side, and I never experienced especially the service sprints, and I never experienced the audit live, so it's always for me. I hear about it, but what I learned for myself, you have to feel it live to really get how it works and get the thinking. And normally what enterprises, at least one time I took part in when we were in Russia, then it was always this kind, what was the biggest outcome was not always the concept, but the awareness and to take it into normal thinking. And that is what normally is said.
The culture that what Zeynep was showing on her slides, that and actually the changing the culture and building the culture, that is actually the biggest work what you have, and it takes a long time comparing real actions.
And maybe I have 2-3 questions. So one thing is somehow you answered it, but maybe I ask it specifically, especially for the Hellon people. When we had the sprint, it was the same, at least I know it from Germany and Finland, and I don't know exactly for Estonia, but when we had this kind of public tender to that you could get the pilot more or less for free. I mean, you had to invest time, but you could go for it. It was not really a run on it. I mean, we had, I guess in Finland, in the end, there were like, I guess, 3 enterprises, and it was similar, I guess, in Germany. It was running maybe not that long for 2 or 3 weeks, but anyway, how do you think? It's just because we are a little bit ahead, or because, I mean, maybe in 5 years, it might be much more than it is now? Or how do you think it will develop, especially with the focus on services? I mean, Tapani also mentioned it, now everything is digital, so it's always a kind of service, but to think about it, how will be this development? And maybe also, Hellon, from your side, I mean, you were involved like in development. How will you use it also, maybe this kind of, was it something new also for you? Did you learn something from this process, and how you will use it for the future? And I might also ask for Harri about, we discussed about reaching, how to say, the average enterprise, and also for the audit. You said you had 30 audits in Estonia, or I guess mostly enterprises. How easy it is to reach an enterprise, or that enterprises come up to you, and how do you think it also for future? I mean, you said already have the basis to keep it as easy and lean as possible as one strategy to reach also enterprises. Thanks.
I think from our part, I will refer this question to Zeynep. Well, we have done some discussions, or Zeynep has led discussions with our client base about circularity and sustainability innovation. And maybe you could shed a bit of light. What are the customers talking about when we present to them this topic and offer them our services?
Yeah, so basically there's no client out there waiting to buy a circular design sprint. So that's not a need that needs to be met. So we need to be very kind of realistic about it. But then this is a very good tool to extend the ongoing design processes, customer experience improvement processes. A lot of companies are doing service development continuously, and now we need to slowly transition to this type of methods instead of the old ways. And when you said, Konrad, 5 years, we don't have 5 years. It has to be much faster than this. So I'm kind of hoping, like in 1 year, this will be much, much more embedded, hopefully, and we can spread the word as much as possible. But there is my experiences, and this is a bit maybe personal, but there are some sustainability related initiatives going on whose job is connecting to certain sustainability targets, but then still there is this very business as usual projects going on. So now we cannot just answer them separately, but we are looking ways how to merge and actually embed circularity or different type of sustainability sensitivities in any design work we are doing. And I'm also super careful here to, because I see also there's more money coming from the green deals, etc., to the market, and there will be always people who are capitalizing from that, like saying, okay, we do this, but with sustainability. But really, designers need to learn much more about the value of this approach and start to shift their mindset before trying to help their customers shift mindset. So it's this many transitions happening in the same time. And personally, my biggest opportunity in my head is helping ecosystem partners to work together in a project. Before working only with one client, but now we need to bring multiple clients that are part of the same value chain and help them to discover these opportunities together and commit together. And we had a couple of successful cases about that in Europe, actually, because no one customer can really change anything, but with their suppliers and customers in the same room, they can together commit to change something.
This is well reflected also. Peter Post was one of the speakers in a how to session, and how in German, when they start to sell the service design to the companies, and they try to educate them and they try to sell it, and they notice immediately after the 2 years that the customer have to have their own self-driven motivation, and then you could work with them. It's again that cultural issue also, that are they really willing to do something? It's the same with your insight also. There were also one question for Harri.
Yes, here in Estonia, what we try to do, we little bit utilize the previous approach by utilizing this capacity building model that we have used earlier, basically bringing together either value chain based companies or clusters, regional clusters. And since we have done it earlier, then this circle design audit method fit very well into this concept, and we managed to sell this idea also to our Ministry of Economy, so that they provided some small support for that. So we have actually organized this type of group trainings, or they're not training. We in a way do quick audits in either regional clusters, companies located in one region, or the other project was very much based on one supply chain. So I think this adds also synergy, because if we talk about circularity, then this is all about cooperation. And this is something where there is, which is one of the biggest barriers here in Estonia. We are far behind of, let's say, Finland, Germany, and other countries when it comes to cooperation, especially business cooperation. We have a very difficult situation in really putting the companies together, and this added value. So we had individual audits, plus we brought them together and really let them to, share experiences. And this already gave very good results. Several companies started to cooperate. So they had much better position in really starting some sort of cooperation-based material exchange or something like that. So we have done it in this way, and I think this has been quite successful here in Estonia, where you in a way have to start from the scratch and really trying to put them together. So this has been very much the approach here.
Totally agree with you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? If not, I think that we are in we could wrap up this fifth how to session And yeah, thanks for all the speakers and good comments, and it was great to see all the great work on circular design and circular systems. This was really nice. Thank you.